So today we have Jeremiah right outside of Foggy Bottom Metro Station, and he is currently out on the streets. And I just wanted to see if he could share our story. So I just want to make sure I have your permission to do this, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So fire away.
I mean, my story is like anybody else's. I got in some messed up stuff, made a few poor choices when I was younger, and unfortunately it cost me a lot. I came to Washington, D.C. to be a protester for Occupy D.C. because I felt that the way our country was run was not working. And I did that from about January 16th to, well, up until today. And I mean, I don't regret what caused me to get on the street, because if it wasn't for the things that happened in my life, I wouldn't be the person I am. I wouldn't have two wonderful children. I wouldn't have a strong faith in God. I just try to wake up every day and be happy. Try to wake up and, make at least one person's life better.
Mm-hmm. And so what's your situation with you and your kids?
One of my kids lives in New York with his mother, my oldest son Gavin, and the other one lives in Northwest DC, and I see him more than I see my oldest, just because he's a lot closer.
And do you keep in touch with them, or you try to?
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough that a while back somebody gave me a computer so that I can at least Skype with my son every night and at least let him know that I'm thinking about him, that I miss him, and that he's cared about.
And so your younger son, who is he living with currently?
He lives with his mother in Northeast, but I get to see him a lot more often. I try to go see him at least every day and tuck him in every night if I can.
And how old are they?
My oldest son is 2. He just turned 2 in April, and my youngest son just turned 8 months. On the 31st of last month. So.
And you mentioned you're fighting a court case. Would you like to?
I mean, I'm not fighting it so much anymore. I've already gone through trial. I'm just waiting until the 18th, which is like next Thursday, to be sentenced.
So, to be sentenced to what?
Most likely time served, just because I've already served a bunch of time. So there's really no point to them, giving me any more jail time.
Okay.
It was an unfortunate situation.
And would you like to describe the situation, or is it something you want to keep private?
No, I mean, it was in the news. On February 4th, I was part of the encampment in McPherson Park in Washington, D.C. And they have been trying for a couple months to actually get rid of the encampment. And they came in at 4:30 in the morning on February 4th with 150 cops in riot gear, 15 cops on horseback, and a SWAT tank, among other things. And they proceeded to evict us from the park. And it was going okay until they got to the very last section and tried to take our library that we had built up that had thousands of books in it. And we didn't like that very much. So as they were rushing us out onto K Street, they said, and I still maintain my innocence even after conviction, they say that in the process of me running away, I threw a 3/4 full Coke bottle and hit a police officer in the eye.
Okay.
So they charged me originally with felony assault on a police officer, felony possession of a dangerous weapon, and contempt of court. Tried for 11 months to indict me. Couldn't indict me, so it was reduced to misdemeanor. Like I said, I was convicted almost a month ago, but because of my outstanding conduct in the time that I was, in the past year and a half, they have let me remain on the street.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for that. But that's basically what happened. I got charged with hitting a cop, or throwing a bottle and hitting a cop in the eye.
And you don't think you've ever done that?
No.
Right.
I know I didn't do it.
You know you did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got basically I was intimidated by the cops into making a statement that made it look like I did it. They, after knowing that I was an epileptic, they kept me in a cold room with no clothes other than a very thin jumper, and basically got me to the point where I was so tired, so fed up that I was willing to tell them whatever they wanted to hear, with the hopes of them releasing me so I could go back to my children. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
And you mentioned epilepsy. Has that been?
Yeah, I mean, I have the most severe form of epilepsy, which means that though I don't have seizures as often as most epileptics in the traditional terms of passing out and stuff, when I do have seizures, they're very dangerous to the point where my heart can stop and I stop breathing.
Oh, okay.
Hence, one of the reasons why I am flying near the Foggy Bottom Metro, because it's so close to the hospital that if I do pass out, I'm right outside the hospital.
Right. And like, has your has this like criminal record hurt your ability to find a job?
Yeah, it's hurt it in a lot of ways because of the fact that instead of at least interviewing me and seeing that I'm not the person who made these mistakes and that I'm not who I was, they tend to just look at the fact that I did get in trouble and don't want to hire me. I mean, I have done everything. I've worked with special needs kids. I've managed restaurants. I've worked in warehouses. I've worked in, child care. I've worked as a caregiver for elderly people who have many skills. It's just finding somebody to give me that chance and to look beyond my past.
Okay.
And realize that anybody's capable of change.
And what do you plan to do once you get out of jail?
Either stay in DC and try to, build my life back up like I've been doing, or move back to New York to be closer to my oldest son.
Okay.
At which point my youngest son's mother will most likely move up to New York.
Okay. And you maintain a good relation with the boys and their mothers?
Yeah, more so with my youngest son's mother. My oldest son's mother, we're more cordial and civil for the sake of the kids than anything else.
It didn't work out.
Nah, we're in two different places in our lives, but though we weren't good together, we're good as parents.
And have you found a shelter to sleep or anything like that, or you out here for the most?
I mean, I have a brother who lives in DC who lets me come over and sleep for a couple hours, but for the most part, shelters are not where I want to be. Mostly because they're not as good as people think they are. You constantly have to worry about people stealing from you. There are bugs that run rampant in there. Body lice, bed bugs, scabies. It's not really a place that a lot of people want to be. People would rather sleep outside. But for the most part, I'm good now because it's gotten warmer. So I don't really have to worry about being cold at night.
Yeah.
And being an occupier, I'm used to the elements and sleeping outside. So. No, I don't really do shelters.
Okay. And so you do you have anything else to say, or?
Be grateful for what you have. Never ever, take those that are in your life for granted.
Okay.
Never allow yourself to think that you're better than anybody else, because I used to have everything. I come from an affluent family. I used to have money. I used to have a house. I used to have a car. And I based my life off of those things. And when I lost them, it really made me see what's important in life. And that's family, good friends, and waking up.
Okay.
I wake up every morning and I thank God that I'm alive. And after that, I just leave it to Him.
Okay. So it was great talking to you, Jeremiah. I hope this message gets out to people. What do you think about the situation of people living on the streets? What do you think is most important?
I think that there is no need for people to be living on the street. Well, we live in a country where there is 4 foreclosed homes for every 1 homeless person. You look on every street corner in America, and there are homes that are perfectly useful. There's empty warehouse space that you could get rid of the homeless problem. We don't have a problem with feeding people because the boxes of cornflakes in the store, 6 boxes deep. We have a distribution problem that needs to change. We live in the wealthiest country on earth, yet we have one of the highest poverty levels on earth. There's something wrong with that.
Okay.
People need to wake up. People need to realize what's really going on. People need to get out of this, it's all about me, and if it doesn't affect me and mine, it doesn't matter. We were created to be social creatures, to take care of one another. So the next time you see somebody in need, instead of buying that $5 cup of coffee, buy one size smaller and give the change to somebody, because you never know when that person you meet might be the person who 6 months down the line might be somebody that you need.
Okay. And sitting outside of Foggy Bottom, you've seen the commuter rush,
Yeah.
and you think people really can slow down and
Yeah, I think that if people really wanted to, they definitely could slow down. There's nothing in life that is that important that you need to rush and drive yourself crazy. There's your job, your family. There is nothing that is that important that you need to rush, because before you know it, you're going to be 60 years old and you're going to ask where the last 60 years went. Enjoy the little things in life. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the smile of another human being, the contact with another human being. Enjoy, everything that this world has to offer. You can't take these material things with you when you're gone.
And I have one more question. I don't know anything about the streets, by the way, but I noticed that a lot of the people that are out here are disabled to a certain degree. Do you think, as a nation, we worry about our disabled youth, but once they grow up, they don't get the kind of support they need?
I think that's the same with disabled youth. I think it's the same with people who are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. We have the support system in place, but it's all about politics. It's all about money. It's about the insurance companies making money instead of providing quality health care, to those in need. You have a lot of disabled people out here because they've fallen through the cracks, because they weren't diagnosed with a mental illness early enough. So when people see them, they think they're crazy. They don't think that there's something wrong with them, that it's not something that they can control. Oh, they must be a drug addict. They must be a drunk.
Right.
Do I look like a drug addict? Do I look like a drunk? I don't drink and I don't use drugs. Yes, I smoke cigarettes, But that's something that I've been trying to get rid of, you know. We need just to become a nation that is about taking care of the people in our country.
And like, I understand exactly what you're saying, but what do you think, like, the littlest of people can do, the smallest of kids? What can they do? Because they're the ones without these prejudices. Like, how can we
question everyone, including your parents? You know, don't follow the ideals of others. Don't let others decide for you what's normal, what's okay. You know, have an open mind, have an open heart. Don't judge people off of the basis of their skin color or the fact that they may be in love with someone of the same sex, or they might walk different, or they might talk different, or they might dress different. You know, do what feels right, not what society tells you is right. Because society's a very messed up place. The world is a messed up place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't settle for the minimum. Always strive to be the best you can. But realize it's okay if you fail, because it's only through failure and only through mistakes that you can really become the person you're destined to be.
Okay. And I noticed, I can't help but feel a lot of people that aren't say the norm, they aren't that people look down upon. They don't, like, people won't stop and say hi to them, and as a result, they stop being people to some people's eyes. Like, they just kind of stay there. They don't seem to have a voice anymore. Is that the case?
They do have a voice. It's just a lot of times they have to compete with all the noise around them. I like to attribute our society to Horton Hears a Who. You know, it wasn't until everybody started making noise that they were even heard. And that's why we got into Occupy, and that was what Occupy was meant to be about, was for the people who didn't have voices to finally be heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And most of the time you spent in Occupy, like, what were the kinds of people you've met? Or
I met all different types of people. I met people who were college educated like myself. I met people who couldn't read. I met drug addicts. I met homeless people. I have one. I met people who, you know, were heavily involved in politics. I met somebody who had spent their entire life, you know, in apartheid in South Africa. Mm-hmm. You know, I've met people with really religious views. I've met fundamentalists. I've met, you know, all types. And that's what Occupy was about. That's why our basis was we are the 99%. Because it takes all different types of people to get the message across. That our world needs to change. Our government needs to change. Our society needs to change. You know?
Well, this was a really eye-opening experience, and I really thank you for your time. You don't realize how much this means to me. But once again, this is Jeremiah. He's living outside of Foggy Bottom Metro Station, right near the George Washington University Hospital. And I hope we could probably get more videos out like this someday. So take care.